Hello there, this is Transfer Talk. Newcastle have opened the door for Liverpool to make a British record bid for Alexander Isak. The question is, will the Premier League champions come in for the striker before the deadline? We'll hear from Arne Slot on that very situation and find out if he intends to bring in more signings. Xavi Simons looks set to become a Tottenham Hotspur player. We're live to the club's training ground for the very latest. Chelsea will be busy in the coming days and hours as Christopher Nkunku heads for the exit door at Stamford Bridge. And could Mainoo be leaving Manchester United? He asked to leave on loan. Right, we'll hear from James Green in just a moment. But first, Thomas Tuchel has named his England squad ahead of their World Cup qualifiers against Andorra and Serbia. Straight to our football correspondent, Rob Dorset. Hello, Rob. Who's made the squad?
Listen, we expected there to be some significant headlines in this squad because the feeling I get is that this is Thomas Tuchel stamping his authority and picking what he believes are the more serious names now as he builds up to next summer's World Cup. Gone is the experimentation of the early stages, and the big headline inclusion in his squad for the first of this season is Elliot Anderson, the Nottingham Forest midfielder, wins his first senior call-up after impressing heavily in the summer with the under-21s. I was told that Tuchel was thinking of calling him up for his June camp with the senior squad, but wanted him to go with the 21s and get some much-needed tournament experience, which he got. Another big headline, though, is a first senior call-up under Thomas Tuchel for Adam Wharton, the Crystal Palace midfielder, who we weren't sure Tuchel fancied. He didn't go to the Euros with the 21s in the summer, but we know that Tuchel is desperate for defensive midfield options. It looks like it's going to be an interesting battle between Anderson and Wharton in this particular camp about who gets the nod there. Two left-back names stand out for me. Miles Lewis-Skelly keeps his place in the squad, despite the fact that he hasn't started a Premier League game for Arsenal so far this season. And just down the road in North London, Jed Spence, who's played at left-back and impressed in both games, does get a call-up as well. So that's an interesting one. And Tino Livramento gets his first call-up under Thomas Tuchel as well. He wasn't in the June squad, but he's played right-back and left-back for the under-21s in the summer. Impressive for him. And Marcus Rashford also keeps his place in the men's senior squad, despite a bit of an indifferent start, you have to say, for him at Barcelona. Whereas, still in Spain, Trent Alexander-Arnold is one of the big omissions from this squad. He misses out, having had a difficult start to life, I think, in Madrid and La Liga. You have to say he was dropped for Carvajal for Real at the weekend. There's no Jack Grealish either, which is another huge headline. We wondered whether he would be back in. Tuchel has talked about the fact that he loves him, but he needed to play games. 2 assists for Everton at the weekend. Not enough football for Jack Grealish yet, it seems, for the England manager to pick him. And Ivan Toney misses out, having been in the squad last time. There are only 2 strikers in this squad that Thomas Tuchel has picked, Ollie Watkins and, of course, the captain Harry Kane. No return for Mason Mount either, and we thought he might be included after many years away from the senior squad. So an awful lot to come out of this squad. We'll talk to the manager himself at 2 o'clock on Sky Sports News. The full squad will be running along the bottom of the screen very shortly. You can see it now on the Sky Sports app.
Lot more from Rob throughout the day, but for the time being, thanks very much. Right, let's talk Liverpool and Newcastle now. Are the pieces falling into place for Alexander Isak to make a move to Liverpool before deadline day on Monday? Well, Vinny O'Connor is at Liverpool's training ground. Keith Downey is at Newcastle. I tell you what, let's go to Vinny first. Afternoon, Vinny. What did Arne Slot have to say about potential incomings?
Well, Liverpool are prepared for not adding further attacking options to their squad before that Monday deadline. I think we actually see that in their stance regarding Harvey Elliott's future now as well, who could possibly remain as a Liverpool player once that window has closed. Remember, earlier this month, he was speaking to Leipzig about a possible move as well. But as yet, Liverpool have received no indication from Leipzig that they're ready to make an offer worth considering. So in the absence of any attacking options coming in, and the likelihood at the minute, certainly from a Liverpool standpoint, is that it's unlikely they will add further attacking options, then Harvey Elliott will very much be a Liverpool player. In fact, Liverpool will resist interest in Harvey Elliott as well up until that point. And that said, Liverpool are ready to move if identified targets become available at the right price, of course, as well. So far, Alexander Isak hasn't fitted in that respect, just in terms of the valuation, of course, how far apart Liverpool and Newcastle are in terms of that valuation as well. So how likely is it we will see new faces here before Monday? This is what Arne Slot had to say.
As always, we try to sign players that can help us, but there's no reason after the first 2 games to complain or to think we need more. But if we can strengthen the squad, then we will always try to do that if it's for the right money and it's the right player.
And Slot had also had some interesting words, interestingly, about Newcastle's possible new signing, Nick Woltemade.
That's right, and of course everyone is putting 2 and 2 together and thinking this could be the signing at Newcastle that then enables Alexander Isak to leave the football club as well. I mean, clearly from a Liverpool perspective as well, he fits into one category as a player who would undoubtedly improve their squad. But as I mentioned earlier, the fact that the clubs are some way apart in terms of the valuation, that's why a deal is proved prohibited, because obviously Liverpool have not gone back to the table because Newcastle initially rejected that bid, that £110 million bid plus add-ons out of hand. Of course, Newcastle have faced their own problems in trying to bring in strikers as well during this transfer window. Ekitike, of course, ultimately wanted to join Liverpool. Wolves have resisted attempts to sign Strang Larsson, as have Brentford with Visser as well. In Woltemade, though, it looks like Newcastle are finally getting that deal for a striker over the line, at least as well. And clearly, Arne Slot was not going to bite on the possible domino effect of him arriving at Newcastle and then Alexander Isak coming here. At the same time, it seems that Arne Slot is pretty pleased for Eddie Howe that he's finally been able to get a number 9.
Newcastle signed, if it's true, and I have no reason not to believe what you are saying, a new number 9. So that's very nice for Eddie, because Anthony Gordon is suspended and Isak has not been training with the team a lot. So it's nice for him to have another number 9.
We keep talking about Liverpool possibly adding to the forward line. We've not even mentioned Mark Guéhi as yet. Of course, Liverpool possibly looking to strengthen at the back. So it wouldn't be too much of a surprise if Liverpool were to do business between now and the closure of the transfer window. But at the moment, it's very much a case of it remains to be seen.
Big news from your press conference with Slot. We heard him ask you what you had for breakfast, Vinny, and you responded that you had a stale donut. We thought you were a healthier man than that.
I can tell you it wasn't stale, it was far from stale, but I will agree with you in terms of the unhealthiness of my breakfast. To be fair, Arne Slot, I saw him after the press conference as well. He says, your job in there is to make my life difficult. I'm going to make your life difficult. He said, I bet you've had a message from back home, haven't you, about the unhealthiness of your breakfast. I said, yeah, you've dropped me right in it.
Well, listen, I think they'll make sure that you've got some fresh donuts next time you go there after that. Thanks very much, mate. Right, those are the thoughts then of Arne Slot on Nick Woltemade. But what did Eddie Howe have to say about the German international's move to Newcastle? Well, Keith Downey can tell us right now. I reckon Keith's a lot healthier and he eats a good cereal or fruit for his breakfast. Just bring us up to speed on the latest, please, Keith, concerning Newcastle's club record £69 million offer for the Stuttgart striker.
Yeah, firstly, I've not had time to have breakfast this morning, such as how quick this transfer has happened for Newcastle United. It's been a frantic 24 hours or so on Tyneside as Newcastle desperately tried to get at least one striker in before Monday's 7 o'clock deadline. And yesterday's move for the German international, Nick Woltemade, came out of the blue, didn't it? He had been linked with Newcastle earlier in the window, but it felt very much like he was going to Bayern Munich. I think they'd had multiple offers for the Stuttgart striker turned down, only for Newcastle to come in at the very last minute last night, agree a deal, get him over here to the northeast, and he's currently now here in Newcastle undergoing his medical ahead of that £69 million move from Stuttgart. That of course represents a club transfer record for Newcastle, which has stood for 3 years. Incidentally, that was for Alexander Isak, who arrived for £63 million. Newcastle hoping to get that one wrapped up today to allow them to then move on to another striking target, which of course could then have ramifications to Alexander Isak, which I'm sure we will get onto in a moment. But Voltemade on Tyneside right now, having his medical. Eddie Howe did suggest earlier on this morning, though, at his news conference, they're very unlikely to have him registered in time to play against Leeds in the live match on Sky tomorrow at 5:30. But this is what he told us this morning on the imminent arrival of Nick Voltemade.
What can you say to us about the move for Nick Voltemade?
Not too much, Razor, but positive signs. I think things are moving and developing in a good way at the moment. So until things are done, can't confirm anything. But yeah, fingers crossed.
Would it be your hope that he could be registered in time for Leeds, if that's possible?
I don't think that is going to be possible due to lots of reasons that I don't understand. But I think that the most important thing is that we try and bring a centre forward in. That's what we've been working towards really hard all summer. So hopefully we're getting closer.
Well, lots of people obviously speculating that a move for Voltemade would speed up Alexander Isak's exit from the club. Did Howe give us any update on his future?
Look, I don't think Eddie Howe wants to go into too much detail about that. It's been dealt with by powers above him. But look, my understanding of the situation is that Newcastle are looking to bring in one, if not two strikers, to in turn open the door for Alexander Isak's departure. He's made it clear he doesn't want to play for the club. Newcastle's owners tried on Monday to change his mind, but there was no resolution to that. So I think Newcastle are in a difficult situation here. Do they keep a player who could potentially refuse to play after the closure of the window? That would be a risk that they would take. Or do they try and rid themselves of a situation, a cloud that has hung over the football club for the majority of the summer? And it feels very much at this moment in time they are leaning towards the latter. But it's crucial for them, again, like they said in their statement last week in retort to Alexander Isak's social media post, it's crucial that they bring in a replacement or two. I think they're still trying for a second striker to come in. I think if Voltemade gets done and they fail to get another one, there is a decision to make with regards to allowing Isak to go. I think if they get in a second striker, I think there's every chance that Alexander Isak goes. Of course, Liverpool still need to make the offer. It needs to be an offer that's attractive to Newcastle. That first offer, of course, was £110 million plus add-ons. I would suggest that has to rise significantly from that. I think it's unlikely they will get the £150 million price tag they had on his head, but perhaps Newcastle and Liverpool can come to some kind of agreement midway between that. Now, Eddie Howe didn't want to talk too much on Isak because he's away from the first team squad at the moment. I don't think he's spoken to him for over a week now, but this is the insight he gave us to the situation. And read between the lines here from what Eddie Howe is saying.
Given how active you are at the moment, I know obviously it feels like this plate's spinning, but what does that activity mean for the future of Alexander Isak? Do you expect him to still be a Newcastle player come Monday evening?
Difficult for me to give you any clarity on the future, Keith. I've said before, I don't know what the future holds in that respect because I'm not dealing with it myself. I've got no update from what I spoke about the other day. I'm concentrating on trying to bring players to the club.
So that was Eddie Howe saying he had no update. But look, it's my understanding Newcastle trying to bring players in to allow Alexander Isak to get his wish and join Liverpool. They have tried for a number of weeks to sign Yohan Wissa from Brentford. I believe that deal is still alive, and there is hope from Newcastle's side that they can get that deal done. And they retain an interest as well in Wolves striker Jorgen Strand Larsen. They had two offers turned down earlier on this week. The latest of those was £60 million. But I think Newcastle still hoping they can bring one of those two players in, which of course would then have a domino effect and allow Isak to leave if the offer from Liverpool is acceptable to Newcastle United. So the dominoes beginning to fall, it feels.
Swan, thank you very much. Keith, get some food in you. Now, Tottenham are making moves late in the transfer window. A defender and an attacking midfielder could join before the deadline. We've got full details in a few minutes' time.
Join me, Roman Kemp, for Premier League Friday as I interview this man, Brighton boss Fabian Hürzeler, about all things looking ahead to the weekend, including his love of tattoos. We've also got an exclusive interview with Mo Salah ahead of our Super Sunday match, Liverpool versus Arsenal at Anfield. Don't miss Premier League Friday on Sky Sports News, 5 o'clock till 7.
Right, looking forward to that in just a few hours' time. Welcome back to Transfer Talk then. We've got a quick update for you from Leeds United. They're moving closer to signing the Brighton attacking midfielder Facundo Buonanotte. It would be a straight loan with no obligation to buy included in the deal. Right, there have also been some big developments today at Tottenham Hotspur. Let's get straight to the club's training ground where we can speak to Michael Bridge. Hello, Michael. It looks like this deal to sign Xavi Simons could be announced very soon.
You're absolutely right, and what great news for Tottenham Hotspur. It's been quite a summer here at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, but if, and it's a big if, they get the deals done they want, I think it could be an excellent window. We've already seen the impact João Paulinho has made. He was the best player in the Premier League, voted for by supporters on Monday after that win against Manchester City, and Mo Kudus has been absolutely sensational so far as well. And if Xavi Simons gets that completed deal this afternoon, then that is the number 10, the position Spurs have been looking at for some time, and that is some signing, 22 years of age. It seems a very good deal as well for someone who's 22, around £51 million, 5-year deal rising to 7, so that could be a great signing for Tottenham Hotspur. Of course, that throughout the summer, there was talk of strong interest from Chelsea. That interest remained, but no bid was made from Chelsea. And Tottenham saw an opportunity over the last few days. There's such a good player. All top clubs are in for top players. So talk about hijacks. I don't think that's true at all. All top clubs are looking at top players, and that'll be a top player coming here to Tottenham Hotspur. Now let's just see if it's announced before the press conference, because if it's not, oh God, Thomas Frank, he could give me I don't speak about players who aren't here yet. So let's just wait and see on that one. But Spurs fans, do not worry. He will be a Spurs player.
For your case, I hope that it is sorted out before then, Bridgie. How about Frank, though? Do you think he'll be happy with the business in general? Does he want further signings?
I don't think we can wipe the smile off Thomas Frank's face since he's been at Tottenham Hotspur. He's had a great few weeks. They were ever so unlucky against PSG in the Super Cup. A great opening day win against Burnley, and then a fantastic win at Manchester City. People say Manchester City were flat. I don't agree with that at all. I thought Spurs were extremely well organised. They made it really tough for City. Now, what else do Spurs need? Will I be busy on deadline day? Well, I love being busy. I hope I am busy. But what else do Spurs need? They need a centre half and potentially another left wing. And we know they've been speaking to Manchester City over the last few weeks, potentially for Savinho. That doesn't look like that's going to happen now. So will Spurs still go for that left wing and that left forward after Heung-min Son's departure? But they also need a centre half. Not urgent, I'm told, but if a deal can get done, then they will explore it. Ideally, a defender who can play on the left of the centre. The latest name is discussed is Manuel Akanji. Hope to get more on that later, so they might be speaking to Manchester City again on that. But there's a number of names. Like there are a number of names in the number 10 position. There's always a number of top names they're looking for. But they have got that number 10 now in Xavi Simons. Not confirmed just yet. Will it? Before Thomas Frank's press conference. But Thomas Frank's press conference is around 1:30. We'll hear what he's got to say. Always engaging, always entertaining to listen to. Thomas Frank, Spurs press conference around 1:30.
Looking forward to it. Cheers, Michael. Right, let's start with Xavi Simons, shall we? Because a lot of Spurs fans very upset with the way that the Ebere Eze situation turned out. As Michael said there, this is not exactly the same, but they still look set to win the signing of one of the most sought-after attacking players in Europe at the moment, and Chelsea were interested in him. So will this go some way to improving the fans' moods after what happened there with Eze?
It definitely will. I think the performances, like Michael was alluding to, what we've seen on the pitch from Tottenham, are already doing that. And I think there's a bit more belief in Spurs that they have someone in charge that seems to be have the ability to change the way they play, adaptability that they possibly didn't have last season. So they've been really encouraged by the start. They've made a few signings. already. Paulinho alluded to. Mohamed Kudus still, I don't think anyone should shy away from how good a signing that is, and that he's hit the ground running straight away. But that's a statement of intent. They're in the Champions League. 22-year-old Xavi Simon's in that position where they really needed someone. Remember, they missed out on Morgan Gibbs-White as well earlier in the window with a 60 million release clause fiasco. Then Eberidge Eze, but they've done their work behind the scenes. They've made sure they haven't sat on their laurels, sat and, wound their wounds. They've just gone for it and gone, you know what, next target, let's get it. And they've got this deal done very, very quickly. So, yeah.
So do you think, therefore, that the whole Eze situation, has that actually overshadowed the reality in some ways, which is that when you look at the Spurs squad, it's actually been a decent window in terms of strengthening in depth, which they need to do with Champions League.
Very much so. Look, when a signing doesn't happen, fans get very disappointed by it. We're football fans. If we see our clubs linked with a certain player and that doesn't end up happening, it can be frustrating. But the clubs are constantly working on evolving the squad. They've got a new man in charge, Thomas Frank, who actually probably isn't directly involved in as many of the transfers as he was at Brentford. He was talking about that actually last week with me and explaining that, look, it's going to take a bit of time to get to the stage where I was at with Brentford. But they're doing their work well. They're keeping players in, the likes of Christian Romero, new contract, captain now at the side, staying on. There was talks of him potentially leaving. So they're keeping their players, they're building a stronger squad, and they've had a fantastic start to the season.
Right, it was a great night for Crystal Palace last night as they confirmed their place in the Conference League this season. But now attention's turned toward the remainder of the transfer window, with plenty of speculation around the future of their captain, Mark Guéhi. Oliver Glasner has just been addressing the media. Let's have a listen in.
From my side, and it's Friday and the window closes on Monday, he has to. He has to, because it's not possible, or I think it's not possible at the moment to find a Mark Guéhi replacement who can play straight in the Premier League, being a starter for Crystal Palace, being consistent. And when we see, I think, our foundation, or the foundation of the success we had in the last couple of months, and also the foundation of going into the group stage, is our defense. So we conceded, we had 2 clean sheets against Fredrikstad. We have now 5 games played. We have 3 clean sheets. We conceded in just 1 goal in the Premier League. So this is our foundation, and Mark is a crucial part. He's the captain. He's an English international. He has the most Premier League experience in the whole back, and getting now the right replacement in, I think is almost impossible.
From your conversations with Mark, is he in the same place? Is he fully focused on, he hasn't had his eye turned by a possible move elsewhere, he wants to be here come Tuesday?
I think he shows it in every game that he's focused, and again, I think it's if Mark had said at one moment, I want to leave Crystal Palace, the deal would have happened already weeks ago. So because of his situation, and it's nobody to blame for it. If a player has 1 more year left contract and gives the signal, I definitely want to leave, a deal would happen in every single club. So Mark is fully committed to the team.
Yeah, very interesting comments on Guéhi there. Said it's too late to get a replacement. We are hearing that Crystal Palace could get as many as 5 players in before the close. They've left it very late, though. Why have they left it so late?
Well, first of all, you can see Oliver Glasner frustrated. Why is he frustrated? Well, this time last year, we were having the same conversations. I was there at press conferences asking him the questions. Where's Mark Guéhi going to end up with the interest from Newcastle? They lost Joachim Andersen right at the end. They had such a disrupted start to their season last year. Really struggled early on and then transformed the season around. He must be frustrated because he's done such a great job. He should be backed, and Crystal Palace are likely to be very, very busy. Let's talk about one. Jeremy Pino, deal agreed with Villarreal. He did, in his press conference, allude to the fact that announcement might come this afternoon, and if the player's registered before 12 o'clock, he will be available to play for them this weekend. So that's an attacking wide player coming in, young 22-year-old. Strong interest in Club Brugge. Christos Solis, the Greek forward, very versatile, might fit the Glasner mould. Also, if Mark Guéhi was to leave, we understand 2 centre-backs they're looking to recruit in, one of which could be Michael mentioned it with regards to Tottenham. Manuel Akanji, wait to be seen, and they're one of several clubs also interested in bringing Conor Gallagher back to the Premier League. Remember, he had a loan spell there previously. That might be a difficult deal to do, but I expect Crystal Palace to be incredibly busy. Oliver Glasner, though, everything's left to the last minute, and he's not particularly happy about it.
Yeah, he's looking slightly exasperated there, isn't he, at the moment? I should just say that the Europa and Conference League draws are taking pace. Rangers will face Roma, Porto, Braga, Ferencváros, Ludogorets, Sturm Graz, Genk and Brann. Aston Villa and Nottingham Forest just finding out their opponents as well. You can get details of the full draw on the Sky Sports website. Plenty more on that to come. And next, we are heading to Manchester United. Will Kobbie Mainoo leave the club? Stay with us. Welcome back to Transfer Talk. Manchester United are desperately trying to make room in their squad as they look to sell players. Dan Khan will be speaking to Ruben Amorim later on, and we can speak to him right now. Dan, where do we stand with Kobbie Mainoo?
He's really dominated the media coverage and really the narrative of Manchester United in the last week or so, especially after Amorim admitted last Sunday after their draw against Fulham that he was competing for a place in the team against the captain, Bruno Fernandes, for a starting position in the team. And as we understand, in the last 24 hours, we've been telling you that Mainoo has actually requested to explore an option to leave the club on loan, but Manchester United very against that idea and want him to stay at the club and fight for his place. Now, of course, Manchester United, knocked out of the Carabao Cup on Wednesday, have less games than usual this season without European football as well. So Mainoo's probably position is the fact that, will he get enough game time in a World Cup year to get back into the England team? He maybe sees that unlikely. And I think this goes back to last season as well, and the back end of the season when, for example, Ruben Amorim was prioritising the Europa League and not the Premier League. He was saving his best team for that competition, quarter-finals, semi-finals against the likes of Athletic Bilbao, and that final against Tottenham. Mainoo didn't start any of those games. He played 1 minute in the final. So I think this goes far back than just this season and not playing a single minute in the Premier League against the likes of Fulham and Arsenal. And I think that has really made Mainoo rethink his position in this team. But Amorim did say on Wednesday before the game that he rates him much more highly than what we all think he does. So something to see in the next few days of this transfer window, if there is any more movement. But from Manchester United's perspective, they want him to stay and they want him to fight for his place.
OK, well, that's one potential outgoing. It looks like progress is being made with some other names. And could there also be a new keeper coming in?
You're throwing it all at me this afternoon, Matt. I mean, let's start with that other potential outgoing, the one that looks the closest, and that is Rasmus Højlund. I think Napoli are hoping and expecting the United striker to undergo medical in that time frame once they can get personal terms agreed. And that deal is essentially obligation to buy with a condition of Napoli reaching the Champions League this season. And that fee is around £40 million. And actually, on the optics side of it, if Manchester United are able to recoup £80 million in the next year or so for Alejandro Garnacho, having his medical this afternoon at Chelsea for £40 million as well. £80 million for two players isn't all that bad, but Manchester United need to also look at other outgoings as well. The likes of Antony seemingly to be closer to a return to Real Betis, working on a deal for him as well. You still have Jadon Sancho and Terrell Malacia. I think in terms of potential incomings, a lot of questions will be dominated this afternoon at this news conference, Matt, about the goalkeeping position as well. After Andre Onana's performance on Wednesday, we've been telling you United have been in talks with the Royal Antwerp keeper, San Lemons. I think this deal is one to look out for in the sense of he is also in talks with Galatasaray out in Turkey. And I think there is a strong possibility that United could end the window without a goalkeeper coming in. And that will leave Andre Onana, Altay Bayındır and Tom Heaton as the three goalkeepers till at least January, which I think Ruben Amorim, again, will get questioned on a lot this afternoon if that is the case and for the weeks coming up. And like I said, this news conference, Matt, I'll just end on a lot of questions after his comments on Wednesday about something needing to change, about the players talking with their performance on Wednesday, and we'll be asking Ruben Amorim to expand and clarify all of those comments when we hear from him on Sky Sports News from just after 1:30.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting press conference, that. Thank you, Dan. Right, let's talk Chelsea, because it looks set to be a busy few days there. Let's start with Christopher Nkunku, because a deal has been agreed with AC Milan that could reach more than £36 million. He'll undergo a medical tomorrow. It sounds like the end of a spell at Chelsea, which didn't hit the heights that many expected. There was a lot of fanfare when he was signed.
Yeah, signed for £52 million, 2023, signed a 6-year deal. But the thing with Chelsea and their transfer business is that they're not always going to work. They're so active in bringing players in and selling players that it's not always going to be a home run every single time. This, unfortunately for them, wasn't. They've lost a bit of money on him. Still, I think there's a quality player there, and AC Milan might well see that quality. Former PSG, had a great time at RB Leipzig. That was why Chelsea paid that money for him. Big reputation, scored a lot of goals, but it just doesn't always work out. So for Chelsea, they're quite ruthless in their transfer dealings in terms of, OK, it hasn't worked out, off you go, we move on. And that's what they've done with Christopher Nkunku.
And that money coming in potentially could be contributed towards the money needed to bring Alejandro Garnacho in. How close is he joining
Yeah,
Chelsea?
very, very close. Medical this afternoon, £40 million fixed fee from Manchester United. Manchester United have added a 10% sell-on clause into this deal. 21-year-old. This will actually be the fourth largest sale in Manchester United history. That's behind the likes of Ronaldo, Lukaku, Di Maria. And it's actually the largest sale of an academy graduate that have been done. Now, United negotiated a higher fee with Chelsea. Originally, Chelsea wanted to pay around £25 million. Got him for 40 million. I think there's a very good player in there. He just needs to be unearthed. But this is an area that Enzo Maresca felt in his side that they were short, that left wing position, and now they've finally got their man.
Yeah. So he could be coming in, but it sounds like there could be more outgoings as well. A few players unwanted by Chelsea. Nicholas Jackson, he could leave. And there is a lot of interest in him. But does it sound more likely at the moment that if he does move, it won't be to a Premier League club?
They're very possible. Look, Aston Villa are still remain interested. They seem like the interested party. We mentioned Newcastle United previously, but now they seem like they've got their striker situation almost sorted and have moved away from any interest in Nicholas Jackson. Other links, Bayern Munich is one that isn't going away. They're exploring a deal, but they want a loan deal. Chelsea want a permanent transfer. I think the likely scenario will be a loan with an option or obligation, really, to buy at the end of the summer. I think it's a difficult one for Chelsea to get off their books. Again, it's a player, I think he's got like 7-8 years left on his contract. He's got a massive contract at Chelsea, as is the situation with a lot of players joining Chelsea. They have these big contracts, so when it doesn't work out, it can become tricky, it can become complicated. But Enzo Maresca has made it really clear. João Pedro, Liam Delap, they're my strikers, they're my forwards. Unfortunately, Nicholas Jackson, you're going to have to look for a future elsewhere.
But this affects Tyreek George potentially as well. Could he be leaving?
Yeah, Tyreek George, what we understand. And actually, again, Enzo Maresca mentioned this to me in a press conference last week. And he mentioned the left wing side, they've got Jamie Gittins. He mentioned Ty George, but he said, I'm not certain that that's enough depth or quality in that area of the pitch. Well, Ty George, we understand AS Roma have made an offer to sign the Chelsea forward. He's got a number of options from other Premier League clubs. Bayern Munich also exploring a potential loan deal. But Chelsea, again, with Ty George, they're saying, yep, you're not in our plans. A permanent deal is what we prefer right now. So, again, that's one that I think is going to move and will be concluded between now and the close of the window.
All right. Thank you, James, for the moment. As I mentioned before, we have the Europa League draw going on right now. All 4 British teams in the Europa League have now got their opponents. Let's have a look here. Roma have 2 trips to Glasgow to play Celtic and Rangers. Aston Villa have trips to Feyenoord and Fenerbahce. Nottingham Forest have a home game against Malmo, which is a rerun of the 1979 European Cup final win under Brian Clough, would you believe? And Aston Villa are also in there too. Conference League draws underway. We will keep you posted as well. But in terms of what you'll get from us on Transfer Talk, lots more still to come. Next up, we will hear from the Bournemouth boss, Andoni Iraola, on a potential incoming in defence. Stay with us. Welcome back. Bournemouth are in advanced talks with AC Milan over the signing of right-back Alex Jimenez. The deal is for an initial loan that could become permanent at the end of the season. Let's hear from Anthony Iraola.
I will answer you the same I always answer. It's not our player, and I cannot talk about players that play in other clubs. You've asked me before about other players, and I think the approach has to be always like this, yes.
I guess I won't ask the same question about Xavi, but another player that's been linked with the club. If you were being honest with the Bournemouth fans, do you feel like they will see maybe one new face between now and Monday evening?
Yes, I think they will. They will see. I don't know how many new faces, but they will see. I think we are not finished, no, and the club is working on adding more players. But we don't know. I don't know. I am the first one not to know what's going to happen.
Right, well, Bournemouth certainly need some defensive reinforcements, don't they, after all those sales. Final part, James, so let's just wrap up a few loose ends, shall we? Potential stories on the horizon. Let's start with Aston Villa. Hamstrung by financial constraints. So does that mean that they've got to look mainly at loans and cheap buy options?
Yeah, they will do. One is PSG's Marco Asensio. They know the player well from the back end of last season. You would say pretty good loan spell actually at the club. Was quite prominent in their Champions League run towards the end. They're back in talks to try and strike a deal for the 29-year-old who's got just 1 year left in his contract. So because of the 1 year left in his contract, a loan might be quite tough to do, but you never know. PSG getting his wages off might help supplement the deal.
OK. How about Arsenal? Because they're the highest net spenders in the Premier League, but are they potentially not done yet?
They're not done. Piero Hincapié, the highly rated Ecuadorian centre-back from Bayer Leverkusen, has been there for 4 years, part of their invincible season to win the Bundesliga title under Xabi Alonso just 2 years ago. Arsenal talks over a loan with an obligation to buy. So the likelihood is the accounting for this will go on to next season's accounts, but it is an area, that left-sided centre-back on the pitch, that Arsenal want greater reinforcement, greater quality, and that comes on the back of Jakub Kiwior, very, very close to a deal being agreed to move to Porto. That's a loan with an obligation to buy of around £20 million. That will work out as the same sort of figure that Arsenal actually paid back in 2023 for the Polish defender. For Arsenal, though, outgoing's key for them. They're looking to offload the likes of Alex Zinchenko, Fabio Vieira, Reece Nelson, Sambi Lokonga between now and the close of the window. But they're not done. I mean, it's an incredible window for Arsenal. Arsenal fans very excited.
Yeah, really is. And it might not have ended there either. How about Wolves? What is the latest on both incomings and outgoings at Wolves?
Let's start with an outgoing. Fabio Silva. I was at the game on Tuesday, their Carabao Cup victory over West Ham. Behind the scenes, there was Fabio Silva saying goodbye to all the staff. They were wishing him well in his future. Very close to joining Borussia Dortmund on a £22.8 million deal. They need to get the player registered by 3 p.m. today in order for him to play in the Bundesliga this weekend. So that's an outgoing. And in terms of incomings, Hayden Hackney, this is a player that's been, well, lauded around the whole transfer window, turned down an opportunity to go to Ipswich, the Middlesbrough centre midfielder. He is interested in playing in the Premier League. He wants to fulfil a childhood dream. But Wolves have got competition from the likes of West Ham and Fulham, and Middlesbrough are quite adamant they don't want to let the player go, particularly now the window closes in just, 3 or 4 days' time. So Wolves interested in Hayden Hackney.
Yeah, well, that's a problem, isn't it, for players who want to move now, isn't it? In that most clubs will just say, well, we can't do it, it's too late, because we haven't got time to find a replacement, which is what Glasner said there with Gay, didn't he, just now? So how about Johan Wissa at Brentford? Is time running out for him badly now to get his move?
Well, if you listen to Keith Andrews, he's clear. He wants the player to stay, regardless of how things have gone about and maybe how his attitude has been, leaving their pre-season tour and camp early and refusing to play for the club. He still thinks he wants the player to stay. The player has been training, but what was interesting, Keith Andrews said in his press conference yesterday, the player will not be involved at the weekend. So he's not involved again. yet he wants the player to stay. I think this likely will get done to Newcastle. Brentford had already rejected an offer from Newcastle in the window, so expect Newcastle to go in and try and push this through. But again, it might be
Brentford have got to find a replacement.
Might be relying on Brentford making sure they can find a replacement in time. So we'll have to wait and see. I think that will happen. I think Brentford will get a replacement in time. It's just better sometimes that these players move on. If they refuse to play, if Brentford can recoup some good money for him, move on, and that's it.
OK, I mean, Brentford will need to be fairly busy, weren't they, in the last few days if Wissa goes. West Ham, their fans are crying out for new signings at the moment. Mateus Fernandes is done from Southampton. Songutu Magassa has had his medical. Both midfielders. Are these signings that could help to solve West Ham's well-documented problems in midfield?
I think they are. Sorry, just checking another small bit of news, actually, that Barcelona haven't yet had an approach from Chelsea for Fermin Lopez. There was interest in the window, so that's just hit. That's what it's been like, Matt, today, hasn't it? It's felt very much like a deadline day.
It's a warm-up for deadline day.
The information's just constantly coming and things are moving. We heard earlier about Mateus Fernandes. Look, I think he's a terrific player. Watching West Ham on Tuesday night, the midfield, they're really lacking legs and energy, and that box-to-box midfielder, somebody who could just work hard at both ends of the pitch. I think Mateus Fernandes certainly solves that. They are short. They need bodies in. Graham Potter knows that he needs more players to work with. If you look at their attacking area of the pitch, they lost Mohamed Kudus to Tottenham. They really were just almost looking at Jarrod Bowen, Lucas Paquetá, make things happen for us.
Yeah.
You need more than that in the Premier League if you're going to, first of all, survive in the Premier League, second of all, reach the heights that West Ham want to hit. They want to be back competing for European spots like they were just 2 or 3 seasons ago under David Moyes. So work to be done, but positive signs today that work is being done and new comings are coming in.
West Ham fans want signings. Fulham fans want signings. They've only signed a backup goalkeeper so far, Benjamin Lecomte. Any news at all on any others coming in?
Joe, it's interesting with Fulham. I've got a few people on social media that contact me about Fulham all the time. Have you got any news? And I feel really bad when I say we haven't really heard too much. Look, there is interest in Shakhtar's Kevin, the left winger. They're pushing hard to get that deal done. Interest in right winger Samuel Chukwueze from AC Milan, 26-year-old Nigerian. So they are trying. They may have to sign a central midfielder if Andres Pereira joins Palmeiras, which looks likely to happen. They are leaving it very late, and I don't think Marco Silva is particularly impressed that that's happening. They've had to work hard to keep Rodrigo Muniz as well at the club this window. Lots of interest in him, but they've kept him, it seems like. So, look, it's a tough window for Fulham, and it's a tough window for Fulham fans. But again, that could be one club to watch as we approach deadline day.
Very quickly, in about 10 seconds or so, is a club in the Premier League going to come in for Gianluigi Donnarumma in the next 4 days?
Yes.
Which club?
I think Manchester City will push.
Really?
For that. I think it's either Manchester City, Chelsea, Manchester United. I think Manchester City have got the money to do it.
Great stuff. Thanks very much, James. So we got loads coming up for you today. Total Football is up next. We've got a host of Premier League managers on the way, including Ruben Amorim. That will be very interesting after they lost to Grimsby, and Enzo Maresca. Stay tuned.